Hi makers, welcome to my Thread Follower YouTube channel. This is Cynthia Treen. If you've discovered this video through YouTube, you can purchase the horse and all my other patterns and kits in my Etsy shop, cynthiatreenstudio.etsy.com. This tutorial will cover preparing mohair wefts for the horse's mane, which are best understood with video. It is a companion to the horse pattern, which will guide you through all the other steps in the process. If you love hand stitching and you want to help support my creations, get free monthly patterns, and have exclusive access to an ever-growing library of projects, you can support me on Patreon with a donation of your choice. As an independent artist, the support of my patrons is extraordinarily helpful for my creative work, and it's a wonderful way to share and connect directly. You'll find links to my Patreon page, the pattern, and all the supplies I used in the video's description and on the first 2 pages of the PDF. We won't cover the tail here, as it's made like a traditional tassel and is clearly illustrated in the pattern, as are alternate methods for making the mane in yarn and pre-wefted mohair. Okay, let's get started. The loose mohair will likely come in bundles like this, with all the fibers aligned and bound at one end. Carefully cut the binding elastic without disturbing the fibers too much. I'm using Mod Podge Fabric Tissutella as my glue for this process, because it dries clear and flexible. I've put it into a squeezable glue bottle with an applicator tip, but if you prefer, you can also apply the Mod Podge with a paintbrush. To prepare, I've taped freezer paper to a work surface with its plastic side up, which I'll adhere the wefts to. Take the bundle of fiber and carefully separate a small wispy section. I like to do this from its middle while holding the bulk in my other hand. As you can imagine, this process can get a bit hairy if you don't keep control of the fiber bundle. With the wisp in hand, fold it in half and make a clean cut at its midpoint. You want to use the sharpest pair of scissors you have for this. Separate the 2 halves and carefully set one aside. I know I keep saying carefully, but it's because the fibers have a flyaway tendency, and keeping them in check will help you make the most of your supply. Use the applicator bottle or a paintbrush to apply some Mod Podge to the cut end of the weft. Gently press and spread the glue into the ends, covering roughly 1/4 to 1/2 inch with glue. You want the glue to penetrate the cut end completely, so all the fibers are bonded when it dries. When the weft is ready, carefully place it onto the freezer paper without shifting the fibers at the glue end. I like to have a container of water beside me and a towel on my lap, so I can clean my fingers as I make each weft. This individual weft process will appeal to some of you, but others might prefer to make their wefts in long strips and cut them after they dry. Let's take a look at that next. Apply 2 parallel pieces of tape, separated by about 1/4 inch, onto your freezer paper. Then lay a bead of Mod Podge between the tape strips and spread it smooth, but not too thin. You want the fibers to sink into it a bit. When you're ready, peel away and discard the tape, leaving a crisp 1/4 inch strip of glue. And remember to clean your hands often as you work. Splay the cut ends and carefully lay them onto the glue line. Repeat this over and over until you've covered the length of the glue line with a fine layer of fibers. Make sure to put pressure on the loose fibers with your hand or with an acrylic ruler, so they don't shift as you smooth the top layer of glue. After gluing, set the wefts aside to dry. From a 10-gram bundle, I recommend preparing 2 to 3 grams of fiber for the mane, separating roughly 2 grams for the tail, and reserving the remainder for backup or a second horse. As you can see, I've switched colors. I have several horses in progress, so while the peachy blonde dries, I'm moving on to this chestnut brown to show you how to connect the segments. If you make a length of mane with the second method I shared, you'll already have one connected length. Let that dry completely overnight, then cut it to 3.5 inches long. If you use the second method, which is my favorite for accuracy, let's connect the segments now. I like to connect them when the Mod Podge is dry to the touch, but still lightly tacky on its back side. Depending on the humidity, this might take an hour or two. Now, peel off one section at a time, overlapping its end with the beginning of the next, until you've created a length that is 3.5 inches long. Allow the finished weft length to dry completely while you begin assembling the body. Before you insert the mane into the seam, the glue edge may need a little cleanup, so feel free to trim the rough edges. This length of mane will be inserted into the next seam shown on page 8 and 9 of the pattern. Here's a peek at how to insert and pin the mane into place. To stitch the mane, please refer to the pattern's instructions and illustrations. Although the tail tassel is explained and illustrated in the pattern, I wanted to show you what it looks like when it's finished. If you need it, just add Mod Podge to the bound end for extra strength. This is helpful if you anticipate the tail being brushed often.